Have you ever stopped and asked yourself a dangerous question? What if the story you are watching is not history? What if it is memory? Before you scroll, before you doubt, before you decide this is not for you, listen carefully. This is not my channel. This is not someone else's story. This is your channel, because you are a child of Adam, and this is the story of how your own blood slowly forgot itself. Stay, because leaving would mean leaving your own reflection. Before corruption had a name, before sin felt normal, before blood stained the earth, the holy books speak together. The Bible tells us that Adam walked in closeness with God, that his descendants were created with goodness yet weakness. The Torah reminds that the children of Adam were given choice, not chains. The Quran declares that the children of Adam were honored above creation yet tested. 3 revelations, 1 beginning, 1 human soul. In the earliest days after Adam and Eve, the earth was quiet, not empty, but peaceful. Wind moved through untouched land. Water flowed without fear. Human footsteps were light. Children were born without shame. They did not hide their thoughts. They did not guard their hearts. They trusted. That trust was the first treasure, and the first thing humanity lost. Corruption did not arrive with fire or monsters. It arrived with a thought. Why him? Why not me? The first sickness of the children of Adam was comparison. One son looked at another, and instead of gratitude, something burned. Both brought what they had. Both stood before the same truth. One offering rose, one did not, and rejection entered the human chest. Rejection does not just hurt. It speaks. It tells you that you are unseen. It tells you that love is unfair. It tells you that someone stole what belonged to you. That whisper was not loud, but it was powerful. The Quran later reminds that Satan beautifies wrong desires. The Bible shows how sin crouches at the door. The Torah records warnings given before destruction. But the warning came too late for the first brother. Hands that once played together now trembled with rage. A human looked at another human, and decided the earth would be better without him. The first murder was not sudden. It was rehearsed inside the heart. When blood touched the soil, something irreversible happened. The earth learned death, and humanity learned regret. That moment did not stay in the past. It multiplied, because the children of Adam did not stop and heal. They moved forward wounded. Generation followed generation, each carrying a little more darkness. People learned that pain could be passed on, that anger could be inherited, that silence could hide guilt. The Bible describes humanity increasing, but goodness decreasing. The Torah shows laws forming to control harm. The Quran states that humans wrong themselves. Why would laws be needed? If hearts were whole, as families grew, so did distance. Parents taught survival before truth, strength before kindness. Children learned early, do not be weak, do not be last, do not be ignored. And slowly, very slowly, the children of Adam stopped seeing each other as family. Strangers replaced brothers. Competition replaced care. The earth that once felt like home now felt like territory. Cities rose not for unity, but for protection. Walls were built, not just of stone, but of fear. Music was created. Tools were sharpened. Skills improved. But wisdom was neglected. People learned how to build, but forgot why. The Quran speaks of humanity forgetting its covenant. The Bible records hearts becoming heavy. The Torah preserves warnings written in fire and memory. Yet still humanity continued, because stopping would require facing guilt. And guilt is terrifying. So the children of Adam moved forward. Distracted, busy, loud. They laughed. They celebrated. They multiplied. But something was missing. Ask yourself now, why does this? Ancient story feel uncomfortable, because corruption did not end. It matured, and you are standing inside its shadow. When corruption settles in the human heart, it does not scream. It teaches. The children of Adam did not wake up one day and decide to destroy themselves. They learned slowly, quietly, patiently. What was once shocking became acceptable. What was once whispered became spoken. What was once hidden became defended. This is how darkness survives. After the first blood was spilled, the earth did not stop turning. The sun still rose. Children were still born. Life continued, and that continuation created an illusion that everything was fine. The children of Adam learned a dangerous lesson, that they could do terrible things and still live. That lesson changed everything. Pain became a teacher, but not of wisdom, of strategy. People learned where it hurts, and how to hurt back. Strength was admired, not restraint. Power was respected, not mercy. The Bible describes mighty men rising, men whose names were feared. The Torah speaks of violence filling the land. The Quran declares that corruption spread on land and sea by human hands. Notice something: not monsters, not creatures, humans. Fathers taught sons how to dominate. Mothers taught daughters how to survive. Love became conditional. Trust became rare. People stopped asking, "Is this right?" They started asking, "Will this benefit me?" Cities grew, but hearts shrank. Crowds formed, but loneliness increased. People lived together, yet felt separate. The children of Adam forgot a simple truth: you cannot harm another without harming yourself. But harm became profitable. Trade expanded. Land was claimed. Borders were drawn. What was once shared became owned. What was once protected became exploited. The strong decided rules. The weak adapted. And slowly morality shifted. Wrong was no longer wrong. It was smart. Deception was no longer shameful. It was skill. Violence was no longer tragic. It was necessary. The Quran warns that when people forget God, they forget themselves. The Bible records how humanity grieved the Creator. The Torah shows repeated calls ignored. Why were they ignored? Because remembering requires humility, and humility feels like loss. So the children of Adam chose pride. They told themselves stories. We are advanced. We are wiser. We know better now. But knowledge without conscience is dangerous. Children grew up watching injustice rewarded. So they stopped resisting. Why fight a system when you can join it? Why be honest when lies bring comfort? This is how corruption became tradition. Families passed down habits, not values. Fathers passed anger. Mothers passed fear. Children inherited wounds without knowing their origin. Violence entered homes, not always with fists, but with words, with silence, with neglect. The Bible speaks of generations cursed by choices. The Quran reminds that no soul bears another burden. Yet children still feel the weight. Because pain is contagious. When people stop healing, they spread. The children of Adam began to worship success. Even when success was built on suffering, they bowed to status, to pleasure, to control. God was remembered in words, but forgotten in action. Prayer became performance. Faith became identity, not guidance. The Torah preserved laws as reminders. The Bible called for repentance. The Quran sent warnings. Still humanity resisted, because turning back would mean admitting corruption. And corruption had become normal. Ask yourself now, what do you justify today that your ancestors once feared? What feels acceptable now that would have shocked Adam? This is not accusation, this is reflection. Because corruption does not belong to a time, it belongs to a pattern. Corruption never had the final word, because it never erased the truth. It only buried it under noise. Even when the children of Adam fell far, something inside them still remembered, a quiet discomfort, a feeling that something was wrong, a restlessness no success could cure. That feeling was not weakness. It was memory. The Bible speaks of conscience accusing the heart. The Torah calls it a return to the path. The Quran describes it as the soul blaming itself. Why would corruption hurt, if humanity was meant for it? Because the children of Adam were not created broken. They were created whole, then wounded. Every generation carried the damage forward, but also the chance to stop. Prophets were sent not to entertain, but to interrupt, to say, "This is not who you are." They reminded humanity of Adam, of origin, of purpose. They warned that power without justice collapses, that pleasure without limits destroys, that knowledge without humility blinds. Some listened, most resisted, because corruption is comfortable, and truth is demanding. Yet even in the darkest times, there were those who paused, those who refused to become what hurt them. They were mocked, ignored, sometimes erased, but they existed, proof that corruption was never complete. The Quran reminds that God does not change a people until they change themselves. The Bible calls for repentance, not excuses. The Torah teaches responsibility, not denial. All three agree on one thing. Return is possible, but return begins with honesty. Not blaming society, not blaming history, not blaming ancestors, but asking a painful question. Where did I compromise? Corruption does not always look like violence. Sometimes it looks like silence. Not speaking when truth is needed. Not acting when justice is possible. Sometimes it looks like comfort, choosing ease over conscience. The children of Adam today live surrounded by noise, screens, voices, distractions, but silence still exists, and in silence the same ancient question returns. Who are you becoming? You are not responsible for the first crime, but you are responsible for the next choice. This story was never meant to end in despair. It was meant to awaken. You are not watching history. You are standing inside it. The corruption of Adam's descendants did not stop, but neither did the call. The call to remember, to return, to repair, and that call reached you. If something in this story unsettled you, that is not coincidence. That is recognition. This is your channel, because this is your story. Stay with it, walk through it, understand it, because knowing where corruption began is how the children of Adam begin to end it, and the return always starts with one soul choosing differently. Yours. Corruption did not win because it was powerful. It survived because it was tolerated. The children of Adam reached a point where wrong no longer shocked them. It only tired them, and tired people stop resisting. They say let it be. They say this is life. They say nothing will change. That is when corruption becomes deep. The Bible speaks of hearts turning to stone. The Torah warns of people who know the law but ignore it. The Quran describes people who see truth yet turn away. This was not ignorance. This was exhaustion. Humanity became tired of choosing right, so they chose easy. They built lives around comfort, not conscience. They learned how to silence guilt, with noise, with pleasure, with distraction. But guilt does not disappear. It waits. Every quiet moment, every loss, every night, it asks the same question. Who did you become? The children of Adam carried that question into every generation. Some ignored it, some buried it, some ran from it, but some listened. Those few were the reason humanity survived, because they proved corruption was not destiny. The Quran reminds that even a single soul turning back matters. The Bible shows that repentance restores. The Torah teaches that return is always open. Return does not require perfection. It requires honesty, not blaming the world, not blaming ancestors, but standing still, and admitting something went wrong. This story was never meant to make you feel superior or hopeless. It was meant to make you aware you are not separate from the children of Adam. You are part of them. Their corruption passed through time and reached your world, but so did the chance to choose differently. If this story felt heavy, it is because it touched something real. This channel exists because this is your journey, your past, your responsibility. If you want to understand yourself, stay here. If you want to know how humanity fell and how it can rise, walk with this story, because the moment you choose awareness over comfort, you already step away from corruption, and that step belongs to you.